we don't have a lot of the stuff that they have out there on what's called the 37th parallel. Now, whenever I was first approached about this, I kind of like the next guy. I did kind of laugh a little bit. And I said, oh, hold on, what exactly is this all about? I've always been a believer that there was something out there, but I've never had an opportunity to go looking for it, and that kind of stuff doesn't happen where it just don't, you'll hear about some sightings and stuff like that, but man, you just don't hear about people's horses getting mutilated, cattle and stuff like that. A very interesting side note, a good friend of mine that lives out west now, we rodeo together, his name's Levi Rudd, sat down with me before I took off to do these investigations, and he asked me exactly this guy is my best friend. He has no reason to lie to me about anything. And his wife was sitting with me, and I told him what was going on. And he immediately told his wife, he said, hand me my phone. He said, let's show him those pictures of what we found. And I had been telling him about these cattle mutilations, apparently, that had been taking place. And Levi himself pulls his phone out that he shows me those photos that he had taken himself of a bunch of dead cattle on a friend of his ranch out in Nevada that had literally circles cut out of their sides. Their sexual reproduction organs were completely extracted from them. This was mind-blowing to me. These were actually taken, they were saved on his Snapchat. So when I looked at his Snapchat reel, I looked up at Levi. I said, did you take these photos yourself? He said, I took these photos myself. He said, now, aside from that, he said he's had 2 horses killed. He said one of them was a stud horse that took the chestnuts off the inside of the front of his leg. So needless to say, I was sitting there pretty speechless at the dinner table because this is my best friend who's, once again, out west. Things happen out west. Now, he grew up where I did. He never grew up seeing anything like that. It wasn't until he moved out there. So what is significant? That's a good question. What is significant about the western side, that 37th parallel that runs through there? What's more significant about that than where I'm from or Lansing, Michigan? I don't know the answer to that, but it's worth damn sure begging the question of, because once we got out there, obviously after seeing now that's coming from Levi, I know that this stuff really is real. There is really some stuff going on. Another fun, interesting note, when Parker and I and the boys was pulling into Colorado, I believe it was Pagosa Springs that we stopped in, and there was a cop over there, and of course we visit with everybody. This cop comes over there, checks us out, and asks us what we're up to, and we said our howdy do's, and we told him what we was up to. He was so interested in what we were doing, he asked us to come down. He said, if you got a minute, can you come down to the police station and meet the chief of police? I said, you bet. I ain't got nothing going on. So we drove down there to meet the chief of police. It was the greatest thing that happened in the police force that week, apparently, because, we cleared the room out, and this chief starts pulling books out, authored by guys that were local to Pagosa Springs, of cattle mutilations and all this crazy stuff that happens. And then he told me, he said, we get phone calls every week. He said about UFO lights going over these mountains. He said, shit, we're tired of chasing them. He said, this has been going on ever since I was a little kid. He said, my dad dealt with this. He was the chief of police. So now I'm talking to some super real. This is before we've even met anybody on the TV show, dude. We're still on our way to get there. But once again, we're getting to that part of the country. And apparently, I'm just late to the party. And so there was quite a party going on out there by the time we got there.
Oh, that's interesting for sure. The first question I really have for you is, how's your horse?
She's good. She's good. My nephew actually has her right now. He's rodeoing on her as I speak. And then if we take off to do another round of this stuff, I'm going to be taking her back. But she's a lot tougher horse after what she got out of, for sure now.
How long was she at the vet to recuperate? And what did the vet say was wrong with her
It was a colic, which is where their guts begin to twist, which is what happens from stress. You will colic a horse if they lay down and get their legs up against the side of a barn and they can't get rolled over, they'll stress themselves to death, and their guts will twist. It'll colic them. Now, stress will do that. Obviously, that's a stressful thing. What she went through was a stressful thing, and I knew that if you saw that TV show, if you saw that part where we was afraid she was going to roll, that's always a tell sign.
Mm-hmm.
They go down and they're trying to get away from the pain, and they start rolling. And what they ended up doing, unfortunately, a lot of meat had to get cut out of that TV show. I hated that. A lot of meat. And so anyway, but one thing that you didn't see on there was the vet. They tube them and they run mineral oil down their throats. You give them a shot of Banamine, which is it's a painkiller, and it relaxes them, because their body will start going into basically convulsions. I mean, from the pain, which, like I said, triggers stress and triggers a whole nother round of things, and that's what causes colic. So that's what she had experienced on that.
Well, it's good that she's better. I saw, later episodes you were riding her again and stuff, but I just thought that just from the stress of being out, but being out there, what was like the one or two things that really, like, you didn't actually believe that you're going to encounter that you actually encountered while doing UFO Cowboys?
If you can hold that thought 1 second, let me lay something under this. Are you guys getting a glare off these lights behind me?
Yeah, but it's fine.
Okay, hold on a second. That's bothering me. Well, that didn't really do much, but anyway. What was your question? I'm sorry.
Going out there and I assume, and none of you guys really knew what you guys were going to come across, but what was those couple of things that you were just like, I didn't think this would actually freaking happen while we were out there filming?
Well, I'll say obviously losing my horse was one of them. That was probably the main thing for me, and a lot of people, and that goes a little deeper than that too. When we came back, and especially when this TV show dropped, you get a lot of people, those that know you want firsthand and second, information behind the scenes and all the stuff, and your family and all that stuff. And you get a lot of accusations out there, a lot of BS from people that you don't even know.
Yeah.
Oh, that was scripted, that was this and that's. But I'm going to tell you something. You can't script losing your damn horse running across the field. I mean, that shit's not scripted. You can't script. Man, there's a lot of that shit that I was sitting there and I just would sit back and, like, when I would watch the show, I thought, how can you script this? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
like that. And that's what the cool thing about working for those guys was. We are who we are. We are from where we're from. We was raised a certain way, which meant, we talk the way we talk. Our expressions are the way that they are. It's because it's who we are. And I'll never forget that guy telling us, he said, what is going to happen is we're going to be coming across a lot of stuff, from the phone calls that we're getting that nobody's ever seen before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you guys what to say. This is your, he said, this is your ride. He said, I can't talk like you guys. I can't say, he said any of that. He said, so basically that was the non-scripted version. That was the coolest part about it, is we got to be ourselves. So, like, whenever we found, walked up on this cattle mutilation, that was the second wild thing that to answer your question. We didn't sit there and walk up on this thing and think of 100 different things to say under their direction. When we found that, it was a holy shit moment. And I was coming over the radio immediately telling them to get their ass over here. Y'all ain't going to believe what I just found, and so everything you got to see for the most part really happened in real time. And, so that was the other real big takeaway from this thing,
coming across that first cattle mutilation, like, there's no blood everywhere. There's just these little incisions made. There's just little chunks gone. Like, Like, and you know what I mean? You guys are cowboys. Slaughtering animals is no new thing to any of you guys, but to see it like that, what was your original take when that first time you saw that?
If you want me to be straight up honest, it made the hair stand up on the back of my neck because I thought, what are the odds of this happening while we're here?
Yeah.
Therefore, meaning, does somebody know, somebody out there, does somebody up there, does something know that we're here, and is it effing with me? Because once again, what are the odds of something like this happening while we come out to shoot this show? You don't have all year long to shoot this show. I mean, you gotta, there's a time frame that you're out there for. I'll be honest, and that's when I come into this thing thinking the whole time, like, what's this, what's going to happen while we're here in this short amount of time, which wasn't that short. I mean, we were there for 2.5 months, but I mean, but still, what are the odds? And so, but like I said, so after talking to the policeman down there where we, in Pagosa, and then, once stuff started developing and stuff started to really it was like the wind kind of hit the fire and started really going pretty quick about, when word spread about us being out there, it was almost like at that point, everybody has a story, and I mean, shit, where do you turn it off? I mean, it was hard to get it turned off because everybody was calling, and it was credible stuff that was coming in from everywhere. That's the wild part about it. And so, like I said, unfortunately, a lot of meat got taken out of the show, and it wasn't nobody's fault. It was just the way the platform rolled. They said you can thank TikTok for this, basically, because everybody's got a shorter time, attention span.
Yeah.
And so things are just starting to shorten up. So you hate to see, there was a lot of details, a lot of wild stuff. Hadley, that's another one. Hadley gets sucked backwards in the field or knocked backwards or something.
Yeah.
Hits Hadley. You don't know what happens right there. I've had, people, it was a wild hog. Well, they don't really have wild hogs in that part of Colorado. To my knowledge, I don't think they've got any wild hogs at all. I don't know. I mean, Hadley told me about what he felt and all that other stuff. Now, one thing that it's not a spoiler, it is what it is. He had marks on his back. I mean, he did. He had marks on his back, and me and Hadley actually got into it. That's a little behind the scenes information for you that nobody knows about, but Hadley and I got into a hell of an argument that's not seen on the TV show. I love Hadley, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't have time to. I'm kind of a hard-nosed character. Everybody kind of knows how I am as a friend, and I'll do anything in the world for you. But I had bigger fish to fry because that horse was on the loose. Mm-hmm. And I honestly didn't really have time to sit around and feel sorry for Hadley. I mean, and that's what I told Hadley. I was like, dude, you were alive and well. You're doing fine. Sorry, you're not right up here. I get that. That was pretty traumatic. I was beside you when it happened. But right now, I got to go find this horse before she gets killed, because not only are we don't know what's out there, but I tell you what I do know is out there. I do know that there's bears. I do know that there's mountain lions, very heavy. I do know that they are easy to get knocked off, and I do know that if this mare is running through the dark and she's, that was my biggest worry. She was, I tied her up with her, with her reins, and so what that, and they're long reins, they're called bosels, and so this bosel that I tied her up with, I mean, it's 2 ropes hanging down, right? So that's 2 ropes to go get yourself tangled up with on a brush pile somewhere in the middle of the night. So if she gets those wound around something, and I've had that happen before, and I found a horse like that while I was elk hunting, so I didn't want that to, what that does is it makes her a sitting duck for a predator.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what killed me to give up this search on this horse in the middle of the night. And, the next day, Hadley was having a tough time because, that's why you seen me get on a different horse. Fun fact right there. If you didn't know that, you saw me riding a different horse.
Mm-hmm. I did see that.
Because mine was gone. Hadley didn't want to be up. Hadley was too screwed up to, he's a kid. He's young. He's 19 or 20. This was a little bit much for him. And anyway, I jumped on his mare, and that's when the search continued. And so, yeah, that's but unfortunately, like I said, a lot of that stuff, had to get cut, or it just wouldn't have made sense because of so much, but and hopefully we can showcase that at a later time. But yeah, damn sure.
The isn't that kind of what you guys signed up for? Didn't he understand that's kind of what you guys
Well,
signed
I
up
mean,
for?
does anybody really know what they're signing up for? You know what I mean? When you go off and do something like this, it's not something that very many of us have a lot of experience with. And so, you know, I mean, like I said, any one of us will walk into a firestorm. I mean, none of us are scared of really nothing at all. But when it starts, you know, it's just stuff you've seen on TV and read about your whole life. But when it starts happening real time around you, and like I said, the hair that stands up on the back of your neck, I can't explain to you with the chilly feeling that you get when you're looking at a dead, mutilated cow. And I've seen dead shit my whole life, killed a lot of cattle. This was done right beforehand, you know, something, and I never heard a gunshot go off. I mean, yeah, we had seen some orbs in there, but, you know, like I said, this is kind of following what I've been hearing about it, you know. And so the reality of it is, whenever you're seeing this stuff in real time, the same stuff that you've always heard about, half the time didn't believe. Maybe I've told people when I got back home, I said, hey, listen, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reporting on the facts.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you guys went out there to do, is get facts, right?
Yeah.
So, like, when you guys first encountered that crater, and then you guys, you know, it was almost empty when Hallie goes in to take the water samples, and then it comes back, and there's like that ranch hand had like filmed like some kind of hand or foot or something coming out of it. Like, that had to have been like,
that was mind-boggling. No, that was mind-boggling. That was I didn't know what the fuck to think about the guy being out there in the first place at nighttime. Well, I mean, I get it, because when your shit comes up missing at nighttime, obviously that's when you go out to check your shit, right? I mean,
yeah.
Coyotes and wolves, I mean, we've had it happen. Coyotes want to get your calves down right there first, you know, at nighttime. A cow will go down to have birth. We've had calves jerked out of the back end of a cow before by coyotes. So in order to get in front of that, you go out at nighttime. And a lot of people, that's, you know, to straighten the record out, some of the other bullshit feedback that I saw, oh, they always just seem to go out at night. Well, you know, that's because shit happens at night. That's because predators fucking come out after dark. That's why.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is in life. You know, that's when shit's on the prowl. And that's when you got to go out there and get ahead of this stuff. And so it made sense why that guy was out there. But on the other hand, with all the stuff that was going on, I mean, it's one thing to go out there and try to catch a mountain lion in the act or something. But anyway, with that crater being there, freshly made like that, which, you know, once again, that's all news on me. Because once we went out there and visited with that guy and he was hiding behind that cottonwood tree, and I mean, it lined right up with a lot of the stories that we had already been told. And I, you know, once again, firsthand experience, you know, you're experiencing reality. Something just happened on this guy's place a few days ago. And he watched it and he saw it, you know, and he said that jet blue flame shot straight up. I mean, as much stuff as I'm seeing everywhere else, I have to believe him. You know what I mean? And then I go over there and see the damn thing for myself. And then for whatever that was coming out of the hole, whatever that was, I don't want to sit here and say what that was. It was damn sure something that was attached to something. It was a being. It was some kind of something.
I mean, yeah, it wasn't a paw. It wasn't a paw, nothing. It wasn't like a paw. It wasn't like a hoof. It wasn't like, you know, something that you could tell as an animal.
I wanted to shoot it. I wanted to get a bullet in it so fucking bad. You've got no idea. I was so bad. I wanted to get a shot off, you know? And so, you know, like I said, and who's to say that thing didn't go under, you know? I mean, because, I mean, we had it surrounded. I feel like I'd have seen it coming up.
Yeah.
There was a part, you know, I mean, there was a part that we circled around. Did you see where we split up right there? Like 2 went this way, 2 went that way. Well, at that point, Jeff and I actually got off in some tall grass. It was some trichichelli stuff that was planted. We had to jump a ditch. And that's the way it is. If you're going to stock up on any kind of anything, whatever it is that you're hunting, you know, you got to get some kind of cover. And so we went it was either go to the cover over here or go straight to it, be right there in the bare ass wide open. I didn't really want to go that route. So we went around, we took the brush route, and we was going radioing back and forth, made sure and then we came in to try to catch this thing in a pickle, to try to get the squeeze on it. And you better believe, yes, I was going to shoot it. I wasn't going to be the guy that wanted his, fucking picture in the newspaper holding up something that was still alive. And so, anyway, like I said, and then it disappears or whatever, which seems to always be the case with about everything, and so only now I can say that this, as a guy living it versus a guy watching it, I can say that it truly, damn sure for whatever reason. I mean, there is a reason that some of this shit never, it's almost like I ain't going to say it can't be found. It's almost, it doesn't want to be found. I mean, it's okay. It's like it gets seen, but you can't never seem to get your hands on it. And I think there's something, if you want to say supernatural about that, something, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, you're talking to a guy that's pretty wet behind the ears. Like I said, not a lot of that stuff kind of happens over here in eastern Oklahoma. And so, is there different techniques and stuff I want to try different when we get back out there? You better believe it. There's other stuff I want to try because, I mean, I want to get my hands on this thing, whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm sure after this, you've gone home, the show's come out. Now you've had time to think. You're like, I can imagine you have all kinds of different ideas of what you want to do if there's a season 2. Like different techniques.
Did you see that mutilated? Look at that mutilated deer that we found. Did you see the gash on the side of its neck and where its ear had been nicked off right there flush with the skull? Yep. Okay. We were briefed before we got out there. We were briefed with basically some of the stuff that's happened. And I saw pictures that was absolutely unbelievable of a stick, those great big power lines, those big power line stretches, like 6 high lines, not just your regular ones running beside the road, but those great big transformer lines. Mm-hmm. There was a picture of a white-tailed deer that was laid, mutilated and laid up on top of that shit, up on the transformer lines. Damn. Well, so you want to talk about people calling hoax and crying hoax and all that bullshit? Well, let me tell you, here's another deal. What rancher in his right mind is going to go out and kill 6, 10, or 12 head of his own, with the prices they are at there? He wouldn't ever even collect that much in insurance on them. I mean, you wouldn't do that. Nobody's that sick, for one. And for two, I don't know if you can look around my house or not and tell, but I mean, I'm a big deer guy. I mean, I taxidermy and all that stuff. I skin a lot of skulls for people. That's one thing that I do in the fall. Everybody brings horses' heads to me. They'll bring cattle. I do a lot of deer. But the moral of that story is I'm not saying I'm the best with a knife. I just don't know anybody that's much better. And so there's one way to take a skin off of a face. You take that knife and you put it in the corner of its mouth and you run a line straight back to its ear. And you start filleting the flesh off the skull and you peel it back and then you take the gums. So what I saw on some of the photos that I had been briefed by, it almost looked like somehow they took the face off like your sock. Okay, imagine you take your sock off. That's what they did with their face, and the sock was rolled up on the pole of its head between its ears. It's impossible to do. You can't do it. I studied it as hard as I could study it. It is literally impossible for me to duplicate with a knife. It cannot be done. Even when you take the flesh off their teeth and take their mouth back, right there, you're always going to leave remnants of flesh on the gums from where you've cut with a knife. There was no remnants left. I mean, it was so perfectly precision done that it looked like it was freaking born that way. And then, like I said, no blood with all that other stuff. So where is this going? What are they using it for? It's a good question. I have the same questions. I
mean, it would be great to find out. I mean, Matt, you have any questions?
I was saying, it's almost like they don't even, whatever it is kind of studying the anatomy, because you guys come across that one deer that you were just talking about that's the ears lopped off and it looks like it's burned from the inside. Like you said, it's nothing a knife is going to do. So it almost looked like it was like burned off because it looked like it had singe marks around it and almost like in the shape, I want to say like on the neck with like an iron almost, and then the heart was gone. So it seemed like it, and you mentioned before on other things of seeing like, genitalia being cut off and things like that, it's very precise on what they're looking at as far as like anatomy wise. And and
it's
almost like
it's
they've
all
never seen something like this before.
It's a mind-blowing ordeal. And to change gears a little bit, I mean, did you guys just see the aliens that were discovered in Mexico or whatever? You guys seen that, surely?
Yeah.
It's all over the news.
Yep.
And no disrespect to our counterparts out there in outer space, but what are those little bastards going to do with a cow? I looked at that little bastard laying in that casket, and I thought to myself, what is that little son of a bitch right there going to do with everything? You know, if that's what it is, if this little thing right here is doing, I mean, must be powerful. You know what I mean? I mean, they've got record of, you know, one thing that'll cancel out the hoax theories. They've got record of bighorn sheep and elk getting killed and mutilated above 12,000 feet. So, okay, let's say that the rancher did kill his own shit, which we know didn't happen, but we'll say that he did. Who's going to go up above 12,000 if they ain't never hiked up there? There ain't hardly no oxygen. I mean, dude, it's tough hunting up there. And then be able to round up those wild animals and get them killed and then mutilated. It just don't happen. You know what I'm saying? Something did it. Something's out there.
My theory is the extraterrestrial black market.
That's it. That could be that could be the golden ticket. You know what I mean? That really could. It could be the golden ticket. You know, I can get deep on this whole deal. One thing I'm 100% believer in is the government cover-up of it all. Why are they retracting? You know, Trump released all the records of the Pentagon when he was in the office, and then why did they turn right around and reclassify him? What are you hiding? Why would you want to reclassify that and pull it back? You know, I did see a deal. I just read a deal on the news, I believe a day or two ago, that NASA, I believe, is supposed to release something, and we should be seeing that come out in the news here in the next week. They are releasing a report, another UFO report, some of the stuff that they've been holding back or whatever. But I think there's a hell of a lot of people out there with a hell of a lot of questions. And, you know, this stuff used to be on the Sci-Fi Channel. You know what I mean? It used to be sci-fi type stuff. You had a tinfoil hat on if you believed in any of this crap. I was brought up that way. Most of us were. You know, and now that it's hit mainstream media, and you're seeing, you know, the Pentagon released report, you know, stuff from, you know, the U.S. Air Force off of their dash cam, and you see these things zipping and juking and jiving and dipping into the oceans and zipping right back out, you know. And I mean, dude, it was all hands on deck there for a little bit. I seen some of the senators were saying, hey, we need to figure out what the hell is going on here. Does Russia or does China, is somebody like light years ahead of us in technology, so, you know, suddenly, like, because this isn't no bullshit. This is coming straight from our U.S. forces. And so there is a cover up of it all, and you got to ask yourself why. What is it that you have the cover up, you know, and why are you trying to hide it from us? There's nothing really to hide no more. It's happened. Everybody's got some kind of an experience with it anymore. You know, look at all these ranchers. You know, the guys that, you know, aside from the ones that we had to go out there and meet.
When you look at the map when they showed on the show, it's like Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, centered in that area. What do you think is it about that land that makes this so interesting to whatever it is you guys were dealing with out there?
Yeah, you know, man, that's a deep question. That's a good question. If you think about, and I haven't, you know, that makes me want to research this after we get off tonight, but if you want to roll that parallel, if you spun the globe a little bit, I'd like to see where those lines are on other parts of the globe and see if there was any hot zone activity along those other lines on the other side of the globe. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That's an interesting take to look at it from. You know, there's something about the pyramids, the way that they're lined up. There's something about the way that they were lined up with the latitude and longitudinal, you know, angles. If you guys haven't heard that, there is definitely something there. When sunlight hits certain areas, you know, it hits through certain wind. I think it's got something to do. I mean, I do believe that there was some kind of extraterrestrial hand in some of those unbelievable, unfathomable inventions like pyramids and stuff like that. I don't think they ever left us. I mean, I really don't. You think about the cultures that have the cave writings and the pictographs and all that stuff written on these caves, dude, those cultures didn't have Facebook back then. They wasn't seeing what everybody else was seeing. They were writing what they were drawing pictures of what they just experienced.
Yep.
And that shit has been found around the world. Okay, so something was going on 4, 5, 6, 8, 10,000 years ago, whatever, however old that stuff is. This is not, and you see the stuff that they've drawn on there. It's a hell of a lot like what we're seeing. And so, this isn't new. And so, and you got to give credit to that stuff.
Well, I know you said you could only give us 30 minutes because you're busy. We have hit that 30-minute mark. If you got a few more minutes, we can. If not, we understand. But make sure to catch Kaleb and the rest of the crew on UFO Cowboys on Roku. Is there anywhere else that people can find you? I know you said you do the rodeo circuit. Is there anything else that they could go find you or got coming up?
We're on Instagram. We built the Instagram pages. If you look up Kaleb Summers UFO Cowboy right there. I got a bunch of stuff on YouTube my outdoor life or whatever. I am a big time outdoorsman. I guide hunts and, aside from the rodeo business and stuff like that. So being able to do what we do is a great fit for what we do because we are such outdoorsmen. We do know, we're all ranchers and stuff here. So it's easy for us to go talk to those other ranchers. In fact, that's why when they built this TV show, they asked us, they said, it's going to be real easy for guys like you to blend in with guys like those. They seem to be a lot more comfortable, talk, and a lot of people don't want to talk about that stuff. That's another thing too. A lot of people don't want to get ridiculed. A lot of people don't want to get called crazy and this and that. So when they see guys like themselves roll up and they got horses in the trailer and they realize that, we're not a bunch of damned idiots. It's not very long before they open up real quick. Parker, I don't know how, I haven't got to see the interview with Parker yet, but if you guys haven't figured out by now, that boy can talk and he's easy to talk to and everybody likes Parker. Parker's that guy. That's why he had the job that he did, going out and talking to folks before a pipeline came across their property. Everybody, by the time he got done with them, they was more than willing to have it. But anyway, so it's easy for guys like Parker and us to be able to go out and talk to guys and get their story, and pretty soon, get their backstory and tell what their family's backstory was, and so then it's easy enough for us to just pull onto their property at night, give them a phone call, hey, it's just us, and they're like, hey, don't worry about it, and I think in some other cases, if other people was to go out and try that, I think they'd probably want to get run off with a gun. But so that was the other, in closing, I'll say about that. The cool thing about our job, to be able to go out there and everybody be so accepting of us, willing to work with us, because hell, they got just as many damn questions as we got, and so, but yeah, so stay hooked, stay tuned. And hopefully, like I said, they send us out on season 2. There's a whole lot more to unravel. There's a lot of stuff to unravel with everything with Jeff, with the Sweet Ranch. that guy is a freaking encyclopedia. So,
yeah, kind of left us off on a cliffhanger. So
we did. Yeah, that I will say that about Jeff. He had no business. Jeff had no business going down there doing what he did. I try not to call out my elders and stuff like that, but that one I was pissed about. That one he had no business doing. But that's because
he's so odd and so weird to going into something like that by yourself. Like
I don't know what the hell he was thinking, but the guy off the camera, when everything's shut down, when we're, actually just hanging out in our free time. That's all he would talk about, is the stuff that he, that he experienced. It's just, so you listen to all those stories and all that stuff. And I think that stuff just ate him alive. It's just ate at him for years and years. And so, cameras be damned. Jeff's going to go down there. Jeff's his own kind of guy. Jeff was pretty much, he's kind of a bull in a china closet, He don't care if the cameras, he's not very, what's the word? Filtered. When the cameras are on or off, you get the same Jeff when the cameras turn off type of deal. But anyway, like I said, he goes down there and digs around because he had experience with it, sure as shit. And he was damned if he didn't go in there and actually find something that matched up with what he had experienced back with these chips, because he had seen it happen with these buffalo. I mean, he's seen it happen, and damned if you don't go down there and go cutting and hacking around, and that's what he gets into. I wouldn't have thought to do that. I'd have left her ass burning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Charcoal her ass and bury it. But not good enough. Not good enough for Jeff. So he had some free time while the cameras weren't on, and he ran right down there and went to cutting. And so that's why, when he called me, I was down there exercising Dixie. It hadn't been very long since I'd got her back from the vet. So I was trying to get her, make sure she was back and good. And so that's when I ran up there to that hay pile where he was at, and he dug that out of his pocket. So, I mean, that was
Did you guys ever get that, analyzed? That little electronic piece that he got out of the...
Oh, yeah. We had... there's some stuff that we're going to tell you in season 2.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we know you're busy. We appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us for a little bit. Everybody go check out UFO Cowboys on Roku, and everybody get caught up so that we can get those numbers up and we can get that season 2.
Yeah, guys, appreciate it. You ever have any questions, reach out, man.
All right, thanks. We appreciate it. You have a good rest of your
guys.
day.
Take care, all right?
Bye.
All right, bye.
All right, everybody. Well, that was Kaleb Summers with the hit show on Roku, UFO Cowboys. You've seen it, Matt. What was your take on the episodes? It's kind of interesting to because same thing we had with Parker is he had kind of an experience that he had given us, last week in the episode, and then for them to go out and encounter all this, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I've only watched the first couple episodes of it in preparation for this, but to be honest, I kind of get like Ghost Adventure vibes from the show a little bit. But I mean, it's interesting to see everything that they're going through, and I would definitely like to see more of the meat, he says, that hasn't been shown. Because I kind of feel like the way the show is cut, it's a little wonky a little bit, but I mean, other than that, I'm excited to keep going and kind of see what they find and how it plays out.
So, yeah, I mean, that's just it. I would like to see more of it. So we hope we get a season 2. So on that note, you guys, make sure to like and subscribe if you like the content you go. I drop the audio version of it pretty much right after these are done. So go find us on all of your streaming platforms if you want to catch up on back episodes. Make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube page. And on that, you guys have a good rest of your day.
You're still alive.
Oops, I forgot to push ahead.